Wow, what a nice t-shirt you have there.
Yep. One review. That's all it'll cost you. One review. Just a really great one.
Did you leave a review though?
No, I think that would be kind of odd. I really like the podcast, especially the host with the least amount of hair.
And people would still be in between.
Yeah, they would still be confused.
I know.
Well, I haven't seen his back, so...
Yeah.
So the thing is, yesterday, you know this, I was working from home. And
So basically not working.
yeah, Netflix,
Yeah.
That's it now. So usually the habit we have is when you're working from home, you're the one who drop off and pick up kids. All great.
Yeah.
Super efficient, right? I go pick up all three of them. We get back home. And then the two of them just immediately go to their room and just chill. They're done.
Wow.
And then I sit with the youngest one and we just watch, children's TV and she's all fine. All of a sudden, she's like clearing her throat a little bit. I'm like, that's odd for a 1-year-old. Did you catch something from your siblings because of all this sickness? And then, this thing when you go to a hotel and you want to take a shower and you turn on the water and it's just full speed and you get a bit shocked?
Yeah.
Basically what happened, she just puked everywhere. So we had to shower, right?
Yes.
Why am I saying this? Because I did not pay attention to the signs. There were obvious clues that this was about to happen. And I could have moved. To kind of salvage the situation. And it's funny because today we're going to talk about some pretty important signs.
I know, but tell me about those signs first, actually.
I was clearing the throat, getting a bit uncomfortable. And
It's so funny when it happens and you see when it happens.
Yeah,
It's like literally like a garden hose.
Yeah.
It's like...
So basically, and maybe we can cut this into the YouTube. So she's, my wife is with her today because she's sick, and this is how she's sleeping right now. Yeah. Sorry if you're only listening to the audio version, you don't get a chance to see it. You need to go to YouTube. But so we're gonna talk a bit about a post that you and I saw on LinkedIn. A gentleman, I forget his name, John. I want to say John wrote. You know what? I can't pronounce. Doesn't matter. We'll drop it in the show notes. He went to a pavilion meetup, I want to say, and Jason Lemkin was there presenting, and he kind of said a really key thing.
Yep.
Even in the good times, you're slowly falling out of PMF.
Yep. And I think this is... I think, why is this important for people that are maybe not founders? Because everyone thinks like PMF is like a founder issue.
Yeah.
It's like,
Not my problem.
Not my problem.
Moving it to another
I
desk.
came here after PMF, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's kind of it's an everyone problem, and
Yeah.
especially for you on the go-to-market, right? So, and again, like having strong go-to-market fit, it's, I don't want to go into defining it because I couldn't.
No.
But, outcomes are easier to sell, easier to retain.
Yeah.
Guess what? Marketing, sales, CS, all of you are on the hook for like good product market fit, right? And if that is slipping away, conceptually speaking, that will then very reality speaking slip away your commission check.
Yeah.
Slip away.
That marketing program you had running that worked so well, it's like, no more.
So it is really something that I think a bunch of more people need to pay attention to in order to kind of really nail.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking, pushing this away. And I think talk to a guy, he left the company by now, but they were at 4 or 5 million or something like this, and he was basically kind of challenging the leadership team, the CEO, and it's like, hey, I'm not sure if really. I think he said it. Product market fit is usually seen as this binary thing, the have it or don't. And he was saying, I'm not sure we have product market fit. Which obviously, when you tell this to someone that is went through this, it's like, go F yourself.
Yeah, yes, I don't want to have that problem again.
Yes, we have product market fit, but I think it's the educative piece here is that I think it's a scale.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you always be sliding in the wrong direction. It's like the second law of thermodynamics. It's like, entropy is always, you will always, always will move away. And I think there needs to be a good way in a company to bring up this thing without, making the whole thing go implode.
Yeah.
And that's what Jason basically kind of brought up.
Yes.
And I think he's pretty fucking spot on with that thing.
I like that. I mean, At some point, we're gonna get him on the show. We have to. He's such a well tuned with the.
We
whole
all know
SaaS.
he's listening already.
Yeah. So, hi, Jason.
Jason, now that you know, we would like you on the show.
Drop
Thank
us an
you.
email. Drop us an. So anyway, we're
By the
gonna
way,
talk
whoever gets us Jason gets, two
two
t-shirts.
a black and a white,
A black and a white.
or one for you and one for your spouse.
Yeah.
Like you choose.
Yeah,
you choose.
exactly.
So we're going to talk a bit about some of the signs because there are signs and clues to watch out for. And we have like 3 or 4 we're going to run through and we're going to make it super practical with a couple of examples.
Yes.
So you can kind of spot it and hopefully prime a conversation from there.
And also, people will start to realize, oh, wow, Mikkel and Tony, they're much older than I thought.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's the first,
Yeah.
the first example. Okay.
It's like, oh, the typewriter, remember?
A chisel and a
Yeah,
hammer.
So
Okay.
the first example. So the whole topic here is around, is something easy gets redefined in the sense, right?
Yeah.
If that's the threshold that used to be really hard,
Yes.
and that you successfully cleared for people with your product.
Mm.
Now you're being perceived as the hard solution.
Yeah. It kind of sucks. You might want to revisit that
And
marketing messaging.
And the case they wanted to build this around is HipChat.
Yes.
So everyone raise their hands in the audience who knows what HipChat actually is. And many people will be like, sorry, clueless, boomer. But really, basically, this was Slack before Slack.
Yes, it was
Right?
Atlassian who kind of, I think, led that
Atlassian,
one.
Yes. And then basically they agreed, okay, we lost against Slack. And then they got shares from Slack in return to kind of stop the HipChat thing, by the way. It's a cool story. But actually, and this is maybe even worse, do people still remember IRC?
I don't think so. This is so far back. Like
No,
people
but-
used it for illegal downloads and stuff, but also
it's like
for
it's a chat, it's a hosted chat.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
basically kind of the next evolution of this is now what is called Discord. Discord is basically
Yeah, true.
IRC and you, right?
Yeah,
So you had this group chat kind of thing going on. And that was for whatever reasons, like private reasons.
Yeah.
And then HipChat started to be the business version of that.
Yeah.
Then I back then when we were using HipChat, yes, we used HipChat in a company, and we used it because the developers used it, because they used Jira, because Atlassian is kind of a thing.
These
That was the
bundles.
reason, by the way.
Yeah.
And it was HipChat versus Hangouts.
Yeah. And I remember testing Hangouts.
And
Oh.
who even knows what Hangouts is?
Yeah.
Well, it's the chat tool that Google developed, and we were a Google shop, so kind of that was second nature to use that. And obviously all of that got wiped out. Once we kind of that was so freaking silly. That decision making process, I was kind of managing this. The decision making process was the emojis are nicer in Slack. It's like no joke.
Oh,
That was
man.
literally the decision. I mean, let's face it. The emojis are nicer.
But
in
I
Slack.
also just remember so definitely HipChat was more convenient than Hangouts. Let's just be clear. Hangouts was like a sticky bar in your
Yes.
browser in the lower right
Yes.
corner. You didn't have channels and
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
And then obviously HipChat did have channels, but the thing is, it was always down, was my impression.
And you couldn't. So the worst thing about HipChat, in my experience, was you couldn't trust the notifications.
Yeah.
There was like either you didn't get pinged at all,
Mm.
or it got pinged, and then it disappeared
Yeah.
for not the you read it and you forgot to put it unread,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the someone deleted a message, kind of the valid reasons.
Yeah.
But for invalid reasons.
Yeah.
and then basically it became we literally can't trust our communication hub anymore.
No, exactly.
That became like a killer piece actually for them.
I mean, part of that is also more, I guess, that's not really anything to do with ease of use. That's more a business problem that they just didn't, succeeded in solving, but
Yeah.
to be honest. But I think the other kicker was with Slack, and I don't know if this was there in the beginning, but at some point they went big on integrations.
Yeah.
And you could start getting hey, meeting booked and all these kind of signals that just
HipChat
made
had
it.
the same thing. They had the same thing.
Okay.
But HipChat was more like I think it was more of a developer crowd.
Yeah.
And then the motion was actually pretty cool. Kind of the upsell motion was pretty cool. Kind of you landed with Atlassian, I don't know, Jira or whatever they use,
Yeah.
right? And then, hey, HipChat, that's pretty easy. But once you have 30% of your company on a chat tool, it's like, yeah, let's just roll it out to the rest. I mean,
Yeah.
ripping this out and replacing it, that seemed silly because you had those integration with GitHub and so forth.
Yeah,
Kind of was
yeah.
already there with HipChat. And actually, kind of that HipChat lost that game. It's pretty crazy actually when you think about it. And I think yes, there's this validate those notifications didn't show, but at the same time, it for some reason these Slack guys, they just nailed the product part. It was so much easier, so much more convenient, so much nicer looking, yada yada yada, and it also became the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Right? It's like Apple a decade ago was the cool thing to be on Slack, not on HipChat.
But you know what is also funny? Like I think I told you before we hit record, it's like I used to work with WordPress 10 years ago. It was the easiest solution out there. What's happened in those 10 years is more and more plugins, more and more functionality. So it's gotten more complex than it used to be. But then you also just have new solutions out there like, I don't know, Webflow or whatever they're called, where it's just easy. You can get going fast. And I think that's just the point we're trying to make, that things, they actually change. And you got to watch out for those signs. You got to look at what is moving in the market. Have you gotten a bit too complex with the solution you're offering? And, be careful. And you see it especially in the design realm. It used to be all Adobe.
Yeah.
Then Figma came and even Canva, right?
Yeah.
So they've just managed to kind of strip down parts of it for the segments they're going for, making it easy.
I mean, this kind of easy gets redefined to a degree. It's really this, and I'm not sure kind of if we're going to get into this later on potentially, but it's this, you get disrupted from the SMB always.
Yeah,
right?
that's a classic.
And here it's kind of you being, your mode is being, pulled away by being easier.
Yeah.
Being dumber, simpler, right?
Yeah.
You will always lose to the simpler solution. Let's maybe go to the next one.
So the other one is that the problem you were solving is simply gone now. It doesn't exist anymore. And that's kind of scary when you think about it.
Yeah, and I think to a degree there's also the innovator's dilemma and stuff, right? It's you build a whole business around a specific problem, and you want to kind of make sure you are not, that the basis for this whole business doesn't just disappear overnight. But the thing is, if you can think about a way how it will disappear, chances are someone else will also be thinking about this.
Yeah.
And then it will disappear no matter what. You can either you can have that piece of cake, or it's someone else.
No, yeah, okay.
Slice of the cake. I don't know, whatever it is. And the thing, the case we were thinking of is actually iTunes.
Yeah.
iTunes in the older days, right? Kind of when we really think about this.
Not today.
iTunes was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Right? I'm an introvert. I like music, but not as much to kind of go into one of those big places where you buy those albums, those CD-ROMs, and like, you kind of flip through the thing. And like everyone around is like 20,000 times cooler than you are. And you don't have any fucking clue anyway.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be there as me, basically. Didn't change at all. Still.
And you definitely don't want to go over to the store where you can just hit play for the CD and just listen. Do I actually want to buy this?
Yeah. So iTunes, they solved that problem, right? So it's not like I could go nuts because I didn't have any money for this, but iTunes was a great place to go and, buy some records that kind of avoided this whole going to the store kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think was great. You could put it on your iPod. They built this whole ecosystem, this golden cage. Fantastic.
They were raking in a lot of money.
Fantastic kind of business case. And then those Swedish guys came along.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, screw all of that.
Yeah.
Just click this button here on Spotify and listen to whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you let me play, adverts, then you can listen to it for free.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just crazy. And also, by the way, the whole story how Spotify executed this thing, insane. Insane, right? So what many people don't know is actually they gave the big studios like Warner Brothers and Universal and so forth, they gave them like shares of Spotify.
Yeah. Not small. Not like, hey, you get...
No, exactly. All of those studios
Yeah.
massive shareholders in Spotify, which basically broke up the whole market for them.
Yeah.
Versus Apple and iTunes bullying themselves into it.
Yeah. They had so much leverage, and then it's like, gone.
They had. And then Spotify basically kind of, flipped the script on the whole thing and basically, unified the whole studios, which then gave them this crazy advantage. And suddenly, and I mean, iTunes to a degree is kind of less so affected.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't need to go to the store anymore, anyways.
Yeah.
But you also didn't need to buy anything anymore.
Yeah.
You just had it there. You just had it there all the time. And having 1,000 songs in your pocket, who cares?
Yeah.
I actually had now 1 billion songs in my pocket.
And I think actually what shocked me about this whole thing, because it was very clear that that problem was kind of disappearing actually when Spotify came around. And obviously it's like they didn't go global, and they're not even in every single country yet, right? Keep that in mind. But what baffled me was how long it took for Apple to adapt. And that's, I think, the whole, well, we're still earning lots of money.
Yeah.
Do we really want to shift it? And, so you're kind of also locked in to a degree to kind of, get the high and then also the low.
But also, actually, if you go one step earlier, I just remembered that, what paved the way for iTunes was actually Napster.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Napster was the beginning. Illegal,
Yeah.
though. minor issue.
Yeah.
So there could have been the Spotify if they, instead of being a legal partner up with the big studios. I don't think the market was ready there yet.
No,
of to be what it was Ben Horowitz, I think, kind of doing kind of the Napster thing. But then sorry, this is total bullshit.
Sean, no, what's it? You know what?
This was total bullshit. He did the browser. I forgot. Anyway, Napster, the browser.
Yeah. Good.
Wow. Are we going to edit this out? I'm not sure. Anyway, moving on. So the real thing here really is...
this is like the rock pool.
No, yeah. But the point is basically the problem disappeared, right?
Yeah.
And now iTunes obviously changed into... they bought... Whom did they buy? Kind of Beats by Dre, and Beats by Dre bought actually this other Swedish company.
Yeah.
Forget. I forgot as well. But now it's kind of Apple. What
Music.
is it, Apple Music?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
Apple Music, right?
Yeah.
And basically, kind of that's what it is now.
And I think so. The point is, like, you won't just go from waking up one morning and then the problem is gone.
Yeah.
No one needs this anymore. They all canceled. That's not how it's going to play out. So you will see the signs here. Let's move to the next one. And it's actually eerily close when you look at the case we marked down. But this is really where a buyer behavior is changing.
Yeah.
And you will probably see this, commonalities in the cases,
Yeah.
but we'll try and portray it a little bit differently. Because we picked Blockbuster. Again, just to depict how old we really are.
I never bought anything from Blockbuster.
I worked there.
Wow.
Way back. Yeah. Way back.
Maybe it's also an East Germany thing. All of
Just
those
slip that into the conversation.
Those American brands, it took a little bit longer.
So the thing is, I remember when the first couple of smartphones came out, like with a touchscreen. So we're talking before the iPhone, and I also remember the iPhone. I was like, why can't I have my phone on this, or why can't I go on the internet and all those things? And then as everything progressed, it was like, why can't I watch movies on this thing? I can hear music. Why not movies, right? I don't want to, yes, I want to watch that new movie, Jurassic Park, but do I want to, hop on my, exactly. Do I want to hop on my bike in the rain and go down there, see that they don't have any rentals of it left, rent something else, bike back, and then return it the next day? It's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'll just download it on Napster. Thank you very much. It's like, so I think there was a shift in the whole behavior of people of where they wanted technology to be.
Netscape.
Yeah. You called it Napster. Yeah. We'll edit it.
Yeah.
Quotation marks.
Yeah. Shit.
Sorry, Ben. I know you're listening.
Yeah. Beers on me next time.
So I think this sign is really.
We'll meet at Jason's place, okay?
Yeah. Let's move on.
Yeah.
I think the sign is really that there's either, usually new innovation happening, or there's external changes driving changes to consumer behavior. And I think the best example you've seen recently is COVID, that drove a lot of change in behavior.
Well,
like
best,
folks.
You need to be careful saying best, right? But basically that changed a bunch of things around.
Yeah. Purchasing groceries online.
Yes. And you could say it changed a lot of things back almost.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of that's what this whole tech bubble is actually about. It's like everyone's like, okay, now we're going to be digital for forever. Everything's going to be digital. And it's like, not actually. But let's get back to kind of the Blockbuster thing, right? So the buyer behavior, you could say it became more lazy.
Yeah.
Everyone was navigating towards the lazier.
Also say on demand was kind of the thing. You were used to being able to make your travel plans on phone and know when to hop on the train, right? You could text someone. You couldn't do that, you know.
So, no joke. I was at my mom's the other, I don't know, month or something like this. And I looked at her and kind of, I honestly asked her, so mom, before the phone and the iPhone and stuff, how did people meet actually? I mean, how did you say, hey, we're going to meet at this place, 2 p.m., be there or be square? I mean, like, how did that actually happen, right? Kind of, I don't even know how, I don't know how this worked, honestly. No, honestly.
They sent a letter agreeing, you know, 3 weeks out.
No, but also they didn't have any agreements. They just walked over.
Yeah.
It's like knocked on the, hey, it's time? No? Okay. Well, you know, walk to the next one. No. It's like, when I think about this now is even the planning to get there.
Yeah.
You do this, you know, while you're walking out the door. You're doing this basically on the fly, right? Anyway, I'm not sure where we're going there, but it's like that's kind of the unlocks that kind of happen that change everything in a completely different way, right? You can say in the Blockbuster Netflix kind of case, it was like, well, Netflix was basically betting on that internet bandwidth is going to be good enough eventually, so you could watch this thing.
Well, I don't know if they knew, but you know, but just to say there were a couple of changes happening back then. You also had e-commerce really getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people getting used to, wow, I can just order it and it'll arrive by mail. And that's where Netflix really started when you think about it.
Yeah,
it was, you know, I don't want to say mail order because you didn't own it. It was mail rentals, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that's just where you'll notice that change where people got more savvy with tech and the internet and all that stuff, and technology caught on. And that drove changes in consumer behavior. Yeah. And that's definitely something to watch out for. Right now, you have one thing with AI, for example, where people will add, we're an AI company, and then people expect that there's, you know, a nice little chat browser where they can do prompts, and it's not there, right?
No, I mean, and then this topic is actually centuries old. Let's just be honest about that, right? So this is not like a PMF, oh cool, new topic. No, this is like been going on for a while. There's lots of actual research.
Yeah.
So funny.
It's like
who was
you
that?
learned this at business school.
We had Dave Boyce on the show the other day. You know, probably aired by now when you're listening to this. And he was saying, hey, we're playing scientist all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's totally what it is. No, and then you have actual scientists.
Yeah.
You know, you could say like, hey, is management, is that a science or is it not? But you have actual scientists that kind of think about, you know, what are the disruptive forces kind of for your business, right? And, you know, Porter's 5 forces and all of that stuff.
And those folks developing the God particle or whatever, right?
Yeah. You know, this is just hobbyists. No, but it's, my point is, these new technologies, they will mess with your business.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be clear about that. And, you know, the internet messed with some of those businesses that we just talked about. Basically, that's actually what happened, right? And probably AI, and I hate the topic so much. I think it's overhyped. I think it's overdone, blah, blah. But yes, you have to recognize, you have to, you know, understand that one way or another, this thing is definitely going to mess with the business that you're in.
Yeah.
And it might mess in good ways or bad ways with your job, by the way, right? So there's also a PMF for you as a person almost that you suddenly need to think, which is the scary thing, actually.
Yeah.
You know, always like, it's this company and the product. Who cares? They have a better product. No, this time it's like, no, actually, this machine is a better product than you.
But I think it's also like you can use some of those trends, obviously, to your advantage. We're talking about signs that you're losing product market fit. But think about the Robin Daniels we had on the show and the work they did at Matterport. They basically disrupted themselves. They saw the emergence of the iPhone, right? Yeah. And it was like, hey, let's try and get this tech onto the iPhone. Obviously, lots of resistance to navigate, which is why, you know, it's so dangerous to not, you know, disrupt yourself. So anyway, go back and listen to that episode. Let's move to the next.
The next one, and it's like 2 Apple examples.
Great.
It's just because we're using Apple too much, I guess.
Because they're so big.
Yeah, exactly. Storage on the iPhone.
Yeah.
And this was like a biggie for a long time, right? Because you had to opt when you bought the phone, which you have for usually 2 years, which how much storage do you want to have on the phone? And this was a real pain. You know, if you didn't have the money, you kind of went for the smaller thing, but the camera was really powerful, so really quickly, like it says, like no storage. You know, when you took a picture, it's like storage is full.
Yeah.
I mean honestly, this was painful.
And honestly, I hated it. I I was absolutely disgusted when you
Yes.
look, and it's like, do I need 60 gigabyte or 120? I kind of really want the 120, but this is disgusting.
No, but also, once kind of the next, iterations of the iPhone came, it's like, well, they didn't even sell it in 32 anymore because
Yeah.
like, you can take 20 pictures, then 32 is full.
Yeah.
Because it's like a 20 gazillion megapixel camera. So, and the interesting thing is, right? I mean, this was a massive profitability thing for them, right?
Yeah.
Is it 120 and 250 gigs? It's like they don't care.
It's the same
like,
cost
like
for them anyway.
It's a $5 more for
Yeah.
production, right? Kind of that's the thing. But they basically kind of charged, not double, but like 30-40% higher,
Yeah.
right? So all of that is sweet profit right there, right? And then what happened, and it actually made click for me super late. Because usually you think about like online storage, it's like Dropbox or Box or kind of all of these things, and it's kind of an awkward integration with your pictures. They can do it, by the way, it works. We did it, but the much simpler solution is you just do is it an iCloud?
Yeah.
iCloud storage or something like this.
Yeah. Plus, you also have streaming services now where you don't need them on your device.
No, but I'm just saying, right? It's you just buy. I think my wife and I, we have like the family setup. Like, I think we're sharing like 50 terabytes.
You must have a lot of pictures.
Not gigabytes, terabytes.
Yeah.
Kind of, we went for this subscription, right? And what happens now? We always by default buy the smallest phone possible, which is like, it's still going to be 250 gigabytes, by the way. Because you're not looking at every single picture all the time. Which basically means what the iPhone does, it stores the low resolution version of it. When you kind of scroll up and down, that's what you see. But the actually high resolution is just deleted from your phone and it lives in the cloud now.
Yeah.
Which basically made this whole thing disappear of, you can't store anything anymore, right? The only thing we get is like upgrade your iCloud storage, which, 50 terabytes doesn't happen anymore. But it's another case. And again, kudos to Apple, disrupting themselves here by taking the sweet profit margin and kind of flushing it down the toilet, because the cloud storage, not that profitable. It's not that profitable as that. I mean, the iPhone basically, I think in history of the planet, has been the most profitable piece of anything ever. Yeah. and cloud storage is just so undercut by AWS and Azure and stuff. Yeah. Like it's, this is not so super profitable anymore. But they realize that this is where the market is going, and then they kind of wave goodbye to this, right?
And so I think what's really important is the sign is really around the willingness to pay at the end of the day, right? Yeah. And I think you and I, we discussed there's like two dimensions. Either the utility drops while the price is the same, which is essentially what happens with the storage. If they had kept that pricing model, the utility just wouldn't be there, honestly, and they wouldn't be willing to pay or even able to, or prefer going somewhere else, right? And the other case is obviously I thought a lot about this in, some of our episodes where we talked about price increases and how it compounds and is such a magical way to grow your business. But try and, extrapolate this 5-6 years out. The customer has an exponential cost on their end. Have you then justified that with additional functionality? Yeah. And I think this is absolutely critical. And that change, like this problem can be self-inflicted, or it can be inflicted by change in the market, right? By technology, by consumers, by competition.
Yeah. And I think the really cool thing here is they actually increase utility, decrease price, basically at the same time, right?
Yeah.
They found a solution that is not making you feel like you have less storage, comparatively speaking, on your phone, but you never needed all of that storage anyway. No. Right? So kind of they found a way to kind of to hit on both ends, but also knowing that online storage is kind of perceived differently, they made this price ridiculously low, right?
But even more non-obvious, business challenge wise, they've commoditized that part of the product, right? They're in a commoditized space. So there's like, to your point, there's lots of competition there on cloud storage, right? Yeah. And that's just another factor as well. I think with this piece, what might happen for some. So I'm thinking about all the calendar booking tools.
No, actually, kind of just to kind of stay in this vein for a second, what they have done is they basically presented an easier solution than the Dropbox.
Sure.
Right? That's actually what they did, kind of, because that's what we had before. kind of a, Dropbox. You have it on your phone, and then basically everything that goes into the photo
Yeah.
folder is being uploaded. But you would still need to go and delete the photos actually.
Yeah.
And what Apple is doing, they're just doing this. It's just automatically.
Yeah.
You don't need to care about it.
And then probably some smart listener will go, well, you can have the iPhone automatically delete the photos, but then you have to do that, right? Set
I need
that
to
up
teach people.
Yeah. It's like, no, path of least resistance.
Yes.
So
I think, what are there's some cool stories and stuff. I get that. But takeaways here, we took some very non-SaaS, non-B2B big examples here to kind of build the case. Also to show you and maybe your CEO, it's a normal thing. These things do happen. Don't get married to, you having the PMF check mark. It might be fading away. And that's okay. And you need to be thinking about this. And you need to be thinking about this not only as a CEO and founder, but as a commercial leadership team as well, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of your metrics will kind of cling to that one thing or will really come out of this thing. And then we talked about a couple of different ways to think about it. Something gets redefined or easy gets redefined. The problem suddenly kind of disappears. Buyer behavior changes. And, this is like a PLG thing, actually. Kind of that's buyer behavior changing, by the way. And then, unable to kind of pay necessarily, or the utility of whatever you paid for kind of decreases for you, right? And there are probably a couple of others, but I think that was a really cool list to kind of go through. And again, don't shy away from that stuff. Lean into it rather, because that's just the laws and physics of how the market works, and try and tackle that conversation. If you see it needs to be done.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks everyone for listening, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.